Is S.O.L about to be S.O.L? Is Solana about to be S.O.L? Right? Well, when you speak about it, to do with writing about it, certainly the writing of it has always matched. S.O.L is S.O.L. Now you could say, well, S.O.L is the sun. Yes, S.O.L is the sun. But S.O.L is also shit out of luck, if you don't know that expression. And the question is Solana's blockchain actually about to experience a devastating failure from which it will never return? And it's a complicated answer that ends in either yes or no, or perhaps. You could say maybe, but perhaps. And what is the answer? Well, it really depends on who you ask. So you get different answers from different people, if you don't already know. And it depends a lot on a lot of factors, namely the technology, the use cases, the adoption rate, and transparency, accountability, a bunch of other things, many of which you can say are the product of the way the coin is created or was created. Right? Its fundamental structures, how more are added, what the meme coin universe has to do with it, if anything, what the NFT universe has to do with it. All these things are significant factors. And you'll have, of course, you have fans and detractors. You got detractors who are, I don't even want to give them I don't want to air the names of people who are fans or detractors, frankly, because that might bias your view. But if you think about Solana, okay, yes, it's not fully decentralized. It is, in fact, a centralized coin created by a venture capital group, which obviously has a vested interest in seeing its value give them returns. So you could say, well, once they get those returns and they cash out, what do they care? Right? If they cash out, that means they sell their interest, right? Which at that point, if they all sold out completely, which they haven't, but if they all had sold out completely to randomness on the internet, which they didn't, then it would be a decentralized project, which it isn't. And then you wouldn't be able to make the argument against it that it's not a decentralized coin, which again, you can't, because it isn't a decentralized coin. And so the situation with Solana is, on the one hand, complicated by its structures and its potential problems. On the other hand, is actually bolstered, even if by a very tiny fraction of very good projects that are built on it. And there are some, and I'm not going to bias you with my opinions of what those are. But I will say that there are some projects on Solana that are really good. you'll need to dig for yourself to find what those are. Or you can ask me, maybe privately, if you want your bias to be biased. I will gladly bias your bias. But you would ask, you have to ask me for that. How can you ask me? Well, you can message me in the comments of this video, and then I can message you back or something. But in this actual video, if you're watching, if you're the person that's watching this, because I'm very much like, at this point, just an old graybeard yelling at the clouds. At least a partially graybeard. I very much doubt that Solana is just going to up and disappear at this point. I know there are naysayers, and plenty of them, and many of them who are influential in the crypto space. And some of them who've been in it as far back as 2017. Wow. I don't know about you. I've been into cryptocurrency from the very beginning. And when I say the very beginning, I mean before Bitcoin was Bitcoin. There were other experiments in cryptocurrencies. And I've been into cryptography for decades before that. So there's maybe one or two things I understand about cryptography and cryptocurrencies. Maybe one or two things. And what I can, I'll say again, get this connection there. As much as a purist may be frustrated about their favorite decentralized cryptocurrency isn't mooning or whatever, and hasn't made them ridiculously wealthy, and they're upset about that, I'm sorry, but I sit back and laugh. Because in life, it isn't always the best that win, right? Sometimes certain battles are won by not the best. In fact, unfortunately, some battles, especially when it comes to communications, maybe it's unfortunate, maybe sometimes, definitely sometimes, the communications battles, and therefore the victory of the battles overall, will be won by those that are not the best, that are far from it, and that are in fact the opposite of the best. Some of the worst projects will rise, and some of the best ones will fall. A lot of that has to do with messaging. Far more than technological value, because, get this, nerds, crypto nerds, as fun as it is to understand the technology behind a given coin, you know what matters more to the average person? Price go up. Sorry to tell you that. The price go up is what matters more. And the average person doesn't understand how that works, nor why. And they really also don't care how that works or why. Just like they don't understand how their car works or why. If you ask them how their car works, I mean, they might tell you, oh, how's a combustion engine? You ask them all the specifics of the details of that, maybe they'll know the word pistons and valves. But beyond that, you're lucky if they know what a chassis is. You're lucky if they know what a frame is. You're lucky if they know what a crumple zone is, unless they've heard it in a recent ad. So to get most people to understand the tech behind your crypto project is honestly a waste of time. The only people that should give a damn about that stuff, really, are the devs building it. Because the average user will never, ever understand or care about that. And you can tell me, boy, our project is It has real value. Why? Because it builds on decentralized stuff. Okay, if that's the case, tell me why so many of the very best decentralized cryptocurrencies, from a technology point of view, are relatively in the shitter compared to much weaker technological products that are much farther along in their growth trajectory. Much, much farther along. Go ahead, tell me, why is that? You don't have an answer for that. I do, right? I know. And the answer is people don't care about garbage products, technology. They don't care about garbage products technology. And as far as they're concerned, all cryptos are garbage products technology. Why? Because they've been influenced socially, they've been conditioned socially to view any new development in technology. It's not just related to crypto, but specifically it happens to affect crypto. But any new development in technology, when you live in a dumbed down society, anytime you make any kind of breakthrough, the average person will go, dumb, right? They will react like idiots and they think they're cool. And to the average other idiot, they are the cool one. Why? Because they've been programmed to accept idiocracy as being cooler than being smart. Okay? They've been programmed to accept that the cultural superior position to be is to be inferior mentally. They've been programmed to accept being a complete idiot is better than not. Now, it's a shame, I agree, but it's also reality, whether you like it or not. It just is a reality. And you have to understand that. You really, really, really need to understand. Right? This is not. That's cool. That's really cool. You need to understand, unfortunately, we live in a world where education is not valued necessarily the correct way. People don't give a damn that it's a privilege to be educated. Right? When you live in a society that only cares primarily about, first of all, material wealth, then you're going to have situations like we have with cryptocurrency and other technological developments where the average person does not care to understand it and never will, even if they end up using it. They don't understand how fiat currency works. You expect them to understand how cryptocurrency works? Stop kidding yourself. It's like expecting someone to know how a rocket works when they don't understand, a go-kart. It really is like that, and it really is ridiculous to expect people to have that kind of in-depth comprehension of the world around them. It's just not going to happen. Right? It's just not going to happen. The average person is just never going to care about how your tech works. They're just not. They're just not going to. And I'm sorry. I hate to be the one to have to break it to you like this. But that's the fact. Like, I know you think that because 7 or 8 years ago you got into some coin that happens to have really great tech and is decentralized and has all the right qualities of being a great cryptocurrency. I know that means you think that therefore your coin should go to the moon. Here's the thing. You're not the market. You're one data point. You know how much your value, your data point is worth? How big is your bag? That's right. How big is your bag? That is how much your data point is worth. If your bag isn't the bag of the majority or the biggest whale size in the project that can move the project, then your bag doesn't mean anything. You may not like it, but it doesn't. Now, it does statistically, of course, have some measurement. But if you're not literally the top dog or one of them, well, then you're not a top dog and you can't move your bag. Most likely. Best thing you can do is cash out when there's a good return and be happy you were in it when you were. And remember, always remember, this is why. This is precisely why you do not trade things that you're emotionally attached to. That is why at Alpha Trading, one of the main 4 things we teach is don't be emotionally attached to your trade. In fact, we say it 4th among the 4 things, but it's not the least. It's like to reiterate the point, right? Because number 1, before anything, is risk management. If you don't have risk management, you don't have anything and you're not going to trade well. It doesn't matter what strategies you use. It doesn't matter what rules you follow. If you don't have risk management, you got, right? At Alpha Trading, the very most important thing we teach, no questions, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The main number 1 thing we teach, risk management. That's it, number 1. It's not even a question. And then 3 rules. Take your profits early and often. Limit your loss. And don't be emotionally attached to your trades. Anyone who can do those things consistently can be a consistently profitable trader. Anyone who can't should probably do something else for a living. And I don't say they should do something else for a living to be smarmy, to be like, you're not good enough to trade. No. Not everybody can be a heart surgeon, right? Not everybody has the tenacity and temerity and kind of stomach for it. Not everybody can be an eye surgeon. Not everybody can be a carpenter, right? Being a carpenter is not like easy unless you know how to do it because you've done it your whole life, in which case, well, being anything is easy if you've done it your whole life and you're good at it. Making umbrellas is not easy unless you know what you're doing and you practice and you have a machine to do it for you, or you do it by hand because you make custom ones, or whatever. Things don't just come naturally to people. Things that are of value don't come naturally to people, except for interpersonal skills, you could say. Those can be learned at little to no cost financially. They can be taught. That is absolutely true. Material people tend to make a living, whether they like to admit it to themselves or not. Material things tend to be learned, tend to be not free to learn, tend to have value that is measured in material ways and is not measured as a function of how good of a person you are, etc. So this comes back to the question of, and don't worry, I haven't forgotten it. Will Solana succeed, or is Solana S.O.L?